Well, that's music to my ears, literally, and hopefully yours as well. Welcome back, Laz Nation. Laz here with another episode of the Laz Word. And I've got some interesting stuff to talk about this week, but before I get started, I want to give a big thanks to our sponsor, A Night to Remember Entertainment. They are amazing. If you need a DJ for an upcoming event, look no further, because with over 30 years of experience under their belt, A Night to Remember knows how to keep the party going. Whether it's a wedding, an anniversary party, a birthday party, or a bull roast, it doesn't matter. They have you covered. They've got several DJ packages available, or they'll even customize one to fit your budget. And you can find them on Facebook by typing in the search symbol, or typing in the search box, at One Great DJ. That's at the number one Great DJ. Or you can give them a call at 443-910-3376. That's 443-910-3376. A Night to Remember Entertainment. They'll make your event a night to remember. Just tell them that Laz sent you.
Okay, let's go.
Oh yeah, let's go. Well, Laz Nation, I hope you're ready for this because it's about to get real uncomfortable, at least for some. Now, I've previously spoken about this topic, and there is an ever-increasing focus on DE&I, and that's diversity, equity, and inclusion for those of you not in the know of the world of acronyms. Now, before anyone goes and gets their pants in a bunch, hang on, because there's going to be plenty of time for that. I know that I'm bound to say something that's going to offend someone. And by the way, just as a side note, I don't care who you are. You don't have the right to not be offended. However, what you do have the right to do is not listen. And if you choose to do that, that's fine with me. However, if you choose to listen and then you're offended by something that I say or do, then that's on you. Oh, by the way, that pretty much goes for not only this show, but basically everything in life. And that may very well be a topic for another show. But that said, let's talk DE&I first. Now, I want to make something clear, crystal clear. I have a disability. Now, those who aren't, shall we say, fans of mine would probably say, yeah, it's a mental disability. But that aside, I do, by definition, have what's commonly called an invisible disability. In fact, more than one. Now, I'm not going to bore you with the details, but suffice it to say that, very simply, my heart does not function normally. And in addition to that, I'm diabetic. And recently, I've fought back against my diabetes, and I've been able to come off of my medication over the last year simply by losing weight. And I'm happy to report I've kept the majority of it off, and I'm working to drop some of those unwanted lbs, if you will. And I say all that for two reasons. One, to give some context here, and two, to hopefully have you understand that I'm not in any way, shape, form, or fashion an adversary of those who are what I would prefer to say differently abled, if you will. I'm one of them. However, what I am against is exclusionary practices and policies. Now, some of you might be saying, well, yeah, duh, Laz, that's the whole point of DE&I. To which I would answer, I'm well aware, and it's a noble cause. You see, in my opinion, the logic is flawless. It's the practice that's flawed. Let me explain what I mean. I don't claim to be an expert, but from what I do understand at a high level, the whole point of DE&I is to ensure that everyone is seen and heard. A diverse and inclusive culture that purposefully sets out to be inclusive is a good thing, period. I truly believe in that principle, be it socially or professionally. Unfortunately, though, what I've seen all too often is a hyper-focus on DE&I, which ultimately leads to the antithesis of what society and businesses were trying to do in the first place. So let me unpack that for you. Let's say that you have a company and you want your company to have a more diverse workforce that focuses on equitable treatment and an inclusive environment. So, in order to do so, positions become available within your company, either because someone leaves or they're promoted or you start to look for diverse candidates. All that sounds good, right? Okay, so you start looking for those candidates who may have a different ethnicity. than the majority of your current employee population. Or maybe candidates that have a disability, or maybe the majority of your current employees are of a particular sex or gender, so you start looking for candidates that are opposite of them. And all that still sounds good, right? I mean, you're just trying to be a company that's diverse, that's equitable, and that's inclusive. What could possibly be wrong with that? The answer is nothing. If you aren't excluding candidates who don't check off those boxes. Do you see where I'm going here? What I'm saying is, again, in my opinion, we as a society and as businesses that are out there would be better served if we focus on what should matter in the first place. The person's skills, experience, qualifications, and ability, or at least perceived ability, to do the job. But too often what happens is qualified candidates are immediately overlooked because they don't check a box. Don't believe me? You don't think it happens? Well, let me tell you a little story. There was an engineering department head, and he needed to fill an opening on his team. So he went through the proper channels to post the opening, and resumes came pouring in. He looked them over carefully, reviewing the work history, length of employment, education, relative experience, and then he chose the top 5 candidates and shared those resumes with the supervisor, of course, right, and HR. Each of those candidates were then brought in for an interview. After the interview, the engineering department head selected the person that he felt was best for that position. However, he was shocked when he was told that he absolutely could not hire that person. So when he inquired as to why, he was told it was because the candidate he selected would not be a diverse hire. So, as you can probably imagine, he was pretty fired up. And he thought about it for a while, and he said, you know what? I'm going to prove a point here. So he took all of the resumes back. He went to his office, and he cut the name and contact information off of the top of the resume so that the only thing left was basically their employment history and their education. He walked back into his supervisor's office. He laid them all out on the desk, and he said, out of these resumes, you tell me who we can hire. Anyone want to care to guess what happened? Yeah, as you can probably imagine, his supervisor picked up the resumes, looked at them, and chose the same candidate that the engineering head had suggested in the first place. Why? Very simple. Because the decision was made based on qualifications and qualifications alone. In the end, the engineering department was able to hire the person that he had chosen initially. Now, that came out with a better ending than it could have, right? In this instance, which, by the way, is a true story, the right candidate was hired and went on to have a successful career at this company. However, what could have happened is the most qualified candidate could have been overlooked. In fact, they were overlooked, all because the person's ethnicity, race, or sexual orientation, or disability status didn't improve the company's diversity numbers. Laz Nation, this very scenario is playing out all over the country. And it's happening under the guise of companies trying to be more diverse, more equitable, and more inclusive. Now, my detractors are going to say, okay, smart guy, what do you suggest we do? How do we fix it? What's your bright idea? To which I reply, thanks for asking. Firstly, I'm not saying that I have all the answers, but what I am saying is that it is my opinion that this so-called solution is nothing but a farce and ends up creating a culture of exclusivity as opposed to inclusiveness. That said, I would offer the best way to course correct is to first make it your practice to truly hire based on qualifications. By the way, I'm willing to concede one of the many qualifications should be what I like to call will, which can be weighted heavier and should be, in my opinion, weighted heavier than skill in some instances. Because you see, skill can be taught, but the person must have will. That's something you simply can't teach. It must be inherent. Secondly, if you're looking for diverse candidates, seek them out. For example, if you're looking to hire more minorities, hold a job fair or a career day at a college maybe with a higher degree of minority students. The same could be said for a company that's looking to improve the number of veterans who are employees. And by the way, when I say veterans, I mean military veterans. Because there are a number of veteran organizations that all they are looking to do is to help members of our armed services transition from military to civilian life. Seek out those organizations, partner with them, and get qualified applicants. I mean, come on, these are just a couple of ideas off the top of my head. What you don't do, or what you shouldn't do, at least in my opinion, is simply overlook applicants because they aren't a target demographic for you. That's discriminatory in nature. And, again, is the antithesis of DE&I. So now, hopefully, you see what I'm saying when I say I wholeheartedly support DE&I efforts, because I do. And I believe it's truly a noble cause and principle. Unfortunately, the manner in which these principles are being implemented are too often flawed and end up having the polar opposite of the intended effect. It's a slippery slope, but I truly believe in my heart of hearts it can be done right if our North Star is quality personnel over the quantity of personnel. And that's the Laz Word. Thanks so much for coming back this week, Laz Nation. Remember, I'd love to hear from you. You can email the show at thelazword@gmail.com or find me on Facebook at The Laz Word. Let me know your thoughts. Also, if you're a lover of music, especially bands like Journey, Foreigner, Styx, REO Speedwagon, Kansas, Tom Petty, Pink Floyd, just to name a few, then be sure to check out my band, the Throwback Junkies, because we'll be playing at Rookie's Hilltop, located in Elkton, Maryland, on April 1st. The show starts at 9 p.m., and they have fantastic pizza, by the way, y'all. So, and you can find the band on Facebook by searching at TBJ Nation. That's at TBJ Nation, all one word, no spaces. Give the band's page a like, and join Throwback Junkie Nation. Well, that's it for this week. And again, thanks so much for coming back. As always, I know your time is valuable, and I appreciate you spending a little bit of it with me. God bless everybody. I'll talk to you soon.